This film is dedicated to Chris Huvain, who's
Yeah.
a close friend of yours that you've written about. He wrestled with depression before taking his own life. Tell me a little bit about the way why you dedicated to him and how his life impacted your script.
Well, it didn't impact my script because it happened after, but it was just
Mm.
another example of loss and tragedy. I was inspired to write the film because I, uh, I had experienced a lot of grief losing my sister and then my father. And then in the middle, well, at the beginning of lockdown, my best friend was hospitalized of COVID and he passed. And then we went and made the film with Chris Huvain's help, who was a much beloved manager in Hollywood at the time. And Chris really battled depression and struggled and held on as long as he could, but then he ended up taking his own life. So, in the spirit of what the film was about, which is struggling to stand back up after very painful times, I wanted to dedicate the film to Chris because I loved him very much, and it was yet another tragedy that happened after the film.
In terms of writing about this film, it deals with the opioid crisis, but not directly. It's sort of that's sort of part of the texture of the world. How much about that crisis, though, were you following while it was unfolding? Was that an important story for you as that story was unfolding?
Well, I think like a lot of people, I was following it. I read the book Dope Sick before they made the TV show, and I just it just if you read about it and learn enough about it, it just can make you so livid, and it's so frustrating and infuriating. Sorry, I can't speak. And I just decided that I would fold that into it because that cycle of people being prescribed it for pain following an accident or following whatever happens, and then getting addicted to it, and then not being able to get off of it, and then looking for it and hunting for it. Um, you know, we see time and time and time again in this country. And of course, I spoke to a lot of people who work in the recovery space, and they told me this story is happening, uh, just nonstop every single day. So it felt really like it dovetailed with the story I was telling about grief and numbing oneself from pain.
As someone who's from the New York, New Jersey area yourself, I mean, you know the way the Sacklers are connected to so much wealth and culture here in the city. When you see that name still in the city, do you feel they paid the right price for their hand in the crisis? How do you
You
feel
know,
about it?
I just saw All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, which is an unbelievable documentary. I highly recommend. And I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not current on how many of the museums have all taken the names down or which are still up. But I highly recommend that documentary to everyone, because it's just it does a really really great job of talking about the very question you just asked.
Right, absolutely. No, I agree. That ending of that documentary is so moving, where the family is watching the testimonials on Zoom. It's really something. Yeah, yeah. When I spoke with Florence earlier, she was talking a bit about the songs she wrote for the movie, and I thought both of them were really evocative and striking. Tell me a little bit about when you heard her songs for the first time and how you felt about incorporating them into the movie.
I just couldn't believe it. I mean, she's just such a talented singer and songwriter, and I thought we have to. I want to make that how this character deals with her trauma. I want to, some people journal, some people get into a hobby, some people meditate, but I like the idea of this being the vehicle by which her character tries to process her trauma. It is a form of journaling, but obviously, if you know how to play a guitar or you know how to play a piano, you might combine that journaling into songwriting, and that's what we decided would be the case for her. And I just thought how unique of a thing to be able to do, to have the lead actress write in the character a song that just felt so special.
Absolutely. I think you get some of the best, one of the best performances out of Morgan Freeman that I've seen in a while from him. He's really wonderful in this movie. When he showed up, how did you sort of walk him through this? This is again, not that he needs that help necessarily. He's a veteran actor, but I felt like there was something really special about this part in
Yeah,
particular.
well, I agree. Well, first of all, he knew, he's not doing this part for money. He's not doing this part for any. He's only doing this part because he wanted to be there. We had to shoot it in 26 days. It was a quick shoot. It's not the environment he's used to working in, moving this fast. And but I was fortunate. I directed him in a studio heist comedy called Going in Style. So we had a friendship, and he trusted me. And I'm just so grateful we had that experience because it allowed him to let me push him. Of course, he's Morgan Freeman. You're always going to be intimidated, and I would have to give myself, pep talks in the mirror every morning. But it gave me the courage, and it gave him the trust to let me push him. And whereas he might have wanted to move on after a certain take, I would say no, let's go again, let's go deeper, and he would do it. And I think you're right. I think I'm like his number one fan, and I think this is one of the best performances he's given in years.
Yeah, yeah. The scene that's really stayed with me is where he's talking to Allison about his walking her through the model train village and talking about all the little pieces. That scene is like Oscar or highlight reel clip worthy for him. And I wonder, what was it like directing him through that scene? What was that day like? Was it a full day of doing that?
It was a full day of that, and very hard because we didn't have any sets. In a normal budgeted film, you'd want to build that set because it's so tiny and you'd want to be able to pull the walls away. But that was an actual New Jersey basement, just like my train set as a child was in, our little New Jersey basement. And I just remember getting goosebumps over and over again because that's one of his finest scenes in the whole film. And I love it because it starts off jovial. He's sharing something that's very personal to him, but he's so proud of it. And you get a sense he doesn't show it to many people, but he's sharing it with his new quote unquote friend. And she is very smart and inquisitive, and she starts to ask questions that she's just trying to be social and interested, but it begins to get, she's dipping her toe into the personal. And he can't help but, because no one's probably ever asked him, to share very openly. And it becomes very raw. And then he tries to turn it back on her, and she's like, nope, and shuts it off. So I really like that. It's a bit of a chess match in that scene, and as it happens around, as they circle around this table. And I think they're both wonderful in that scene.
Yeah, it's a real standout for sure. So congrats on that. And congrats on the film. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Take care.